like sucking, but I ain't gay.
Legit bad podcast.
Fuck those honkies.
Welcome to Costco. I love you.
He really knows how to suck a wiener.
Welcome back to Legit Bat. The whole gang is here today. I'm Joe. Jen's here. Ben is here.
Bullshit.
No, he actually is here. And we haven't caught up with this guy in ever. We used to have him on all the time, but then he had some life changes and, you know, like squirting kids out and moving, getting new jobs. But Big Dumb fucking Kyle from the Big Dumb Podcast, so is this now defunct? Like you're not doing it anymore or what?
It's defunct. And now after the controversy with OBDM, it is officially no longer the Big Dumb Podcast. It's removed from all platforms. I will be back in some form eventually, just as not the Big Dumb Podcast. But guys, it's good to be back. Thank you for putting up with me during my time of hiatus. You mentioned life changes. I'm actually a woman now.
Oh, good.
And that was really the big thing. I'm finally comfortable to come out and say that. So
now Kylie.
Yeah, it's Kyletta, actually.
Right, and everybody better respect his pronouns. It is man.
Dare dead name him.
It's man.
Yes.
It's man. But
Big
yeah,
dumb
guys,
Kyletta.
it's good to be back, man. It's good to chat with y'all. And to see you guys. Like, I remember the first I was just thinking about this the other day. The first podcast we did, like, what, 2 years ago? Just how much of a good time we had. So glad to be here chatting with y'all.
We hit it right off. And then I think we had you and the other Kyle, Conspiracy Kyle, which I don't think he's doing his show anymore either. They're dropping like flies.
He's in and out. I think the kind of, as we were seeing with post-COVID, the free money is gone. The work from home is over. People are getting back to their lives. And I think it's just, it takes a different level of commitment. And I didn't necessarily want to stop. I just felt like I needed to kind of refocus a little bit and then rebrand and kind of come. I've been planning on rebranding since before the whole OBDM thing. And here's the thing, I support them 100%. I told Mike, I was like, dude, I want y'all to get to 4 million no matter what it takes. So if I'm getting in the way, I will gladly like get rid of and I even changed my Instagram to not OBDM. I'm sorry.
Wait, did you was this a real controversy?
It was a controversy among fans, not really OBDM.
No, yeah,
themselves.
Mike was super cool about it. He never really had a problem, but like anytime he mentioned it on the show, I would get berated by people.
He just recently mentioned it on the show.
What the fuck?
Very recently.
Yeah, no, and after that, like, I got a bunch of messages from people like, the fuck is wrong with you? You're a piece of shit. Like, you're so unoriginal. Like, you suck. And I'm like, whoa.
You didn't even know about OBDM when you started your show.
Right. And I
Or
explained
you
that
didn't
to
know
Mike.
what OBDM stood for, right?
Exactly. I had no idea. And I'm like, now I'm a huge fan. And so I'm like, I still support the show. I still listen to every episode. Like, I love it. It's one of the highlights of my week. Right.
Oh, yeah.
And so, like, I don't want to, I have no hard feelings towards any of the guys, Joe, Mike, Cretchid. I've chatted with Mike about it before. He's like, dude, I'm sorry that people are berating you. Like, that was not my intention. So, but yeah, it's, people just get really tribal about things, even in like the conspiracy podcast world. Like, we've seen that from day one, people just like latching onto their people. And it's like, like they're like little warriors for people. And I'm like, that's cool. But it's a little ridiculous because I think at the end of the day, we all just want to hang out and do a fun show and have a good time.
Yeah.
I think you see some of the people in their true colors in that like sect, like the conspiracy, just kind of like open-minded, go on a podcast, have a great conversation, and then behind the scenes, there are not OBDM, but like you'll hear about these podcasts. They're like, oh, we're all open. And then one thing pisses them off behind the curtain and they become the exact thing that they're always bitching about. And it's like, okay, so you're clearly in it for the views and the likes and all that shit.
And it's crazy how much
fans.
the fans they get crazy, right? Like, do y'all have any
Absolutely.
crazy fans?
A couple.
Yeah.
I try not to even put a spotlight on them, though. Sometimes I do just for fun, just to fuck with them. But
I like what you said, Ben. Like, people will say one thing, and then when a situation arises, they'll completely flip-flop. And we've seen that in the past 5 days with all this like war stuff going on. Like all the conservatives were like, get money out of Ukraine, like we need to stop sending them money. And then as soon as this Israel thing happens, it's like, take my fucking money, please. Like we need to bomb these brown people in the desert. Like, please, God, I want to so bad.
Dude, it's we just kind of talked about that thing the whole thing and how it's been going on for decades and how the US funds both sides of it, just like always. But you put one thing on the media and blast it over and over, and people are just like, well, we got to put this profile picture in our Facebook because we were told to. We have to do it.
So you want to hear a conspiracy about this thing? I explained it to Lene. I think it was last night or the night before. End of last week, right before all the shit went down, I just finished that 6th book from Jack Carr, the Terminalist series.
Oh, the 6th one?
Yeah, he's got 6 out, and he's going to be coming out with the 7th. But
I'm on number 3 right now. Shit, I didn't know that there were 6. I thought 3 was the newest. What's the name of the? I didn't mean to sidetrack you, but like I thought there were only 3 books out.
No, number 4 is The Devil's something. I think it's The Devil's Hand, and then number 5 is I can't remember number 5, but number 6 is In the Blood. So, long story short, Jack Carr was on Rogan like a year ago, and he was saying that when he wrote book 4, he had literally described exactly what happened in Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
And then when it happened, the DOD, because he has to throw everything through the DOD for a redaction because of his previous clearance level as a SEAL, he had to basically rewrite that whole book because he was like, the whole plot line was about Russia invading Ukraine because NATO was getting too close. And like he said on Rogan's podcast, he's like, yeah, I basically had to redact the whole book and then just said, I'm going to write a new book because obviously the situation can't be that. Here's the crazy part. So prior to this thing with Israel, in the book, he talks about what Russia would do. And their next step would be to attack Israel, making it look like it's the Middle East, so that the funds would be split to Ukraine and the troops, which we would do, would get split to Israel, so that China could then move on Taiwan, and our infrastructure, both economically and militarily, would be stretched to the thinnest level, and then Russia would make their play, making them the person who purchased the bullet, in essence. So you have the thing in Ukraine already set up. Russia then, fakely attacks Israel using the Middle East, and then that splits us up, and then China moves on Taiwan, and then all of it gets connected. All of this was theoretical fiction in the book that I had finished 2 days before this attack on Israel, and I explained it to Lene, and I'm like, it's the fucking Russians. I'm like, they put them up to it. And Lene's like, yeah, but that's the thing. That's 100% reasonable. And I'm like, oh yeah.
Yeah, these guys who've been in the military for 20 years, like generals, even, SEALs, like the amount of stuff they've seen, and like their mind just works for war and strategy. Yeah. Like it's not that far-fetched for someone to think like, this is what I would do, right?
Well, he's got contacts.
Like, I'm sure.
He straight up said, like, he has little birdies not on Twitter that are tweeting at him. So I don't want you to mention my name, and I would highly recommend you keep this out of the book. So when he finishes and starts his books, he explains where his head was at when he wrote the book, why he wrote it. And then at the very end, he goes through a whole list of, by the way, in the book, this is one thing that happened. I use this as a timeline for part of my story and the character building. However, this cabin that I mentioned being a CIA black site, as to my knowledge, is not one. So like he does these little things at the end of it that the DOD made him do. But at one point, I was reading book 2, and it says, chapter 2, James Reese, August 10th, redacted.
Like location is redacted.
And then paragraph 1, redacted. Paragraph 2, redacted. And then it continues to describe the place he's at, and a whole bunch of landmarks are all redacted so that you can't figure it out. And Rogan asked him about it. He goes, yeah, that's because when you know that these places exist, but nobody else does, and you don't realize nobody else does, you don't find that out until the DOD is like, yeah, you're cleared for that. Nobody else is. You can't put that in there.
Right. That's dude. Yeah. His books are so good. The second one was a little slow, like the time in Africa and stuff like that. But I'm starting the third one. But yeah, dude, it's nuts how you can. And if you look at, I've been telling people like it's the fourth turning. Like, I don't know who wrote that book. That dude who wrote, y'all know who I'm talking about? The fourth
I don't
turning?
remember his name, but we talked to Gordon from those conspiracy guys, and that was that whole show as he was talking about the fourth turning. Yeah.
And you can, and it's just like history is just cyclical, right? It's not necessarily repeating, but it's rhyming and it's cyclical. And we're coming on the end of that 80-year cycle or whatever. And I think there's going to be another massive conflict, unfortunately. And I don't know if we're going to be on the winning side of that, as much as it sucks. Like, I'd love for America to like whoop some ass, but at the same time, like, I don't want like Donald Trump said, I want people to stop dying, right? That's like the best answer you could give, is like, I just want people to stop dying. I don't want to take sides. I just want to like chill out, eat a moon pie, drink a 7-Up, stop murdering people. You know what I mean?
And honey buns and cigarettes and lottery tickets.
Well, that's from that sheriff in Florida. He did a press conference like 2 years ago when crime started spiking. And that was an exact quote of his. He was like, everybody just chill out, eat a moon pie, drink a 7-Up, stop murdering people. Dude, he's so funny. He's hilarious.
Or I'll do you one better. Eat some crickets, then a 7-Up, and then own nothing and be happy. I mean, if you want, we're drinking alcohol, so I can't really speak to the health benefits of anything. I'm not exactly an expert on that. What do you think? I was going to ask Sean from Kill the Mockingbirds the other day what he thought about, because we were kind of on this track too, and about the cycles and all that stuff. The one thing I always think about being raised as Christians, I know Ben does too, is that apparently the end times are going to be characterized by wars and rumors of war. Every time I heard that, I'm like, oh, so the whole of history? Because that describes the whole of history.
Yeah, that's why there's so many predictions about when the end times are nigh.
Right. And I don't pay attention to these exact date people. Like, fuck yourself. But it does seem weird, like the ramping up, at least in my life, and from what I can tell from history, the ramping up in the last few years has been a lot more than any other time. And maybe by wars and rumors of wars, it means like social media. It doesn't have to necessarily be actual wars. It could just be the shit you see on a screen. Like, what's your view on that whole like end times type of shit?
Well, it's interesting too, because like as technology accelerates, our access to information accelerates. And I would argue that there's actually less war and destruction and death overall, but we just hear about every instance of it, right? Like you see like people getting shot in Chicago because everybody has a Ring camera now, and it just gets uploaded to Twitter and everybody sees it, right? And they're like, oh my God, it's a crime wave, right? But it's just always been happening, and you just never hear about it. So that's one aspect. And then two, I listen to old Art Bell episodes to go to sleep, and from like the 90s, like before I was even born. And it's really fascinating to hear like the exact same, like I listened to one last night from like 1997, and he's like, China's going to take Taiwan, and then Russia's going to try to take back the rest of the Soviet Union and all this. I'm like, oh my God, that was 30 years ago almost. Yeah. Like the shit is just always, and Art Bell talks about the quickening. He wrote a book about it, where just this acceleration of events and things happening. And I like to chalk it up to, just our access to information and the ability to communicate quickly across the world. I don't necessarily, if you look at it statistically, and Rogan has had this guy on before who talks about like people are dying less than ever before, people are living longer, crime is way down, people aren't starving, people are coming out of like less people are in poverty than ever before. People just don't want to hear about that, right? That's not what gets clicks, that's not what gets views. And so and if you think about it, like World War I, World War II, like, oh my God, what were those people thinking about the end times, right? They were probably losing their shit, because it was literally like the whole world was on fire. So yeah, I don't know if there's necessarily the end times. I think every generation kind of has this thing. And if you want to get biblical, the Bible says like no one will know the hour or the second or whatever it says, you know. And I think
that's how
if
you
you're
know the false
anticipating,
prophets.
right, if you're anticipating, you're like, oh, I think it's going to come now. It's like people who do dates on stuff like, oh, like tomorrow, right? Tomorrow, Friday the 13th, they're like, there's going to be terror attacks in the United States coming up from the border and all this stuff. It's like, how do you know? You know what I mean? Like,
How do you know that you didn't just instigate it by saying that when nobody else was fucking thinking it? This is, I agree with you on the whole social media platform and it not actually being nearly as bad as it has been just without our knowledge. Like the whole ignorance is bliss thing, whether it be forced or optional, is 100% true. World War II, I think it was a total of tens of millions. I think it was like 85 million or something like that
minimum
across all countries. Yeah, died in 5 years plus. It's like we were at war in Iraq for 20 and we lost a couple tens of thousands. Now that is still really
we
shitty.
lost like less than we did on 9/11. Like total, we lost like maybe 3,000 soldiers.
Okay,
total.
so even better. It's like we lost a couple thousand people, and I'm not saying that that's good. I'm not a proponent for that.
It depends on who it is.
But look at it. Like they lost millions each side for the most part. I mean, we didn't lose that nearly as many as Europe did, but Russia lost millions of people
20
in one
million
winter.
20 million Russians died, mostly men.
And like they heard about it in the news and shit like that, but now you move into the age of information and electronics, and it's like one guy, like you said, on the Ring doorbell. It's like you see one guy die, and everybody says, "Oh my God, it's an epidemic of break-ins." And it's like
a pandemic.
Dude, this has been happening for forever. You know how many people have been shot trying to break into houses? It happens every day all over the world. And I'm sorry, but the Middle East and Israel have been blowing each other up for literally thousands of years. Like, it's not going to stop now.
Yeah, no, they declared war. It's serious now. You should know that. When somebody says, I declare war, then it's fucking on.
I declare bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can just declare things and it makes it more intense. But yeah,
especially if you blast it all over the media, then it makes it really real.
In my opinion, this is all just a distraction from
100%.
Stuff that's going on here. I think Israel needed a distraction. Bibi over there was, in a little bit of political turmoil, couldn't get a government put together. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, well, look, I have emergency powers now. I can do what I mean, it's literally like you mentioned Conspiracy Kyle the other day, like earlier. I mean, Star Wars, like that's exactly what happens. There's a false flag and then emergency powers are enacted. And he's like, I am the Senate. And then he becomes the emperor and he takes over and, the empire becomes the empire. So I think we just have to be careful too. Like all of us listening know that like the US government, it exposes us to propaganda to our own detriment, not to pump us up or anything, but like to make us feel bad or to emotionally manipulate us and to just fuck with us and gaslight us. And so like we just have to be careful about what's going on, what we're seeing, what we're not seeing. It's like,
yeah, well, there's a reason for that, is because they always say, fear sells. Who's paying for these broadcasts? A lot of it we just talked about is pharmaceutical companies and a lot of other people. They're just trying to make money. So you know what sells? Having a picture of a beheading on the internet. If you can monetize that, you'll make way more money than a cute picture of a puppy licking a cat. Like people are going to scroll right past that and go, no, where's the jihad beheading? Like,
yeah, we were just talking
people
about
are sick.
All the articles that I've seen. I was trying to find Planet Retard material and it's slim pickings because it's all about Israel right now, but it's all about dead babies and dead women and children and kidnapped teenage girls. And I'm not saying those things aren't happening, but it's all over the place to sway us to feel a certain way.
Yeah, it's emotional manipulation, which is a sign of a sociopath and psychopath and narcissist, whatever else you want to do. It's manipulation at a mass level, and they've figured it out so well that people keep falling into it every single time. And the whole we talked about this with Sean, the whole current thing happens almost it's almost quarterly at this point. There's little mini current things in between, but the main current things happen almost like in a 3 to 4 month cycle, and that's the big thing.
Dude, I would say 3 to 4 week cycle. I mean, think about it just this year, right? So January we had what was January? Was that the train derailment or was that in February?
I'll have to look at my bingo card because I have it filled out.
Palestine, Ohio, or whatever that was.
Yeah. Oh, whoa. Talk about foreshadowing. Am I right, Ben? You just whoa. Palestine blew up. They're gonna nuke Palestine. That's what's gonna happen now. They nuked it here. They're gonna nuke it there.
It's like sympathetic magic type shit.
Next is Paris, Tennessee.
Or Paris, Texas.
Or Paris.
Wow, you heard it here first, folks.
Yes. And
But
the
I'm just
exact
saying, like,
date will be
4 weeks ago, we had Maui, that we had that. And then like 2 weeks ago, last week, we had the whole Speaker of the House thing. I mean, like all these historical events just keep happening and happening. And I think it's just going to get closer and closer together until I think who was the CIA guy who said like, we'll know our disinformation is complete when like the American people don't know what's true or not. And I think they just want us in a state of chaos, right? Like, where just so much chaos went. But then I was thinking about it too, with all the stuff going on. Cause like I stayed up late the last 4 nights, just like doom scrolling, trying to figure out what was going on. And like, getting some little hopium here, whatever. And then I woke up this morning and I was like, fuck, I'm tired. I went to work, completely fine. Beautiful day. No one's, trying to fuck with me. Everything's cool. That doesn't mean like I shouldn't be worried, but at the same time, we have to realize like what's just here to manipulate you and like take your brain space, and then what's actually right in front of you. Like I'm about to have a kid. Like I got to focus on that. You know what I mean?
And
I would recommend that. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's not helping a bit. And it comes off as that you don't care, which is, it's not true that I don't know. Yeah. I just don't care. But like when things like this are going on with like Israel and Palestine, I don't care. Not because I'm like, fuck those people. I don't care because that's not affecting my life. And that might sound self-absorbed, but seriously, I have enough problems of my own to not have to worry about holding signs in the streets. I stand with Israel or Ukraine or whatever the fuck else. Like, it's not that I don't care. It's just, I can't have that on my mental platter when I have everything else in my life on my mental platter. I have kids that I pick up from school and like do, those everyday life things. Now, if the war came to our front door, that would be different. Yes.
Yeah.
Then we can engage and hold some flags and shit.
It would, but if you were in a bad place, constantly worried about what was going on in Israel, in Ukraine, and you were just constantly thinking about that, doom scrolling all day or whatever, or what have you, and then the war did come to your front door, you would be very ill prepared because you wouldn't know anything that was going on around you because you would have been too busy looking at what's going on thousands of miles away.
Yeah,
exactly.
Well, and it's to add to that, Joe, when you said, it's not affecting me. Yeah, I 100% agree. It's not affecting me. The really, really shitty part is that now with everything at the touch of your fingers, doom scrolling, the algorithms, all of it, guess what? Unfortunately, it does, because it affects our fucking gas prices and the amount that we pay because the government says it affects us. Like,
right, but that's nothing we have any direct control over.
That's what I'm saying is like mentally, if we put away everything that we have now in comparison to when we were kids, it's like, dude, do you know how much more at peace everyone would be? And it's not because you're sticking your head in the sand. It's not because you don't know that it's not happening. It's because you know that it's happening. But guess what? It's not in your face to make you feel like a piece of shit for it not happening to you in some twisted across the world survivor's guilt that we're Americans and we should feel bad for all of these people. That has been happening. Kids have been dying in Africa of starvation for a very long time. I remember those ads when I was a kid as well. And they were there to make you feel bad. So they
get money from you.
Money. And so I'm like, the scheme has not changed, but the delivery method has. And it's worse now than ever because you can't fucking get away from it. And because so many people rely on these platforms to maintain their businesses, promote their businesses, keep in touch with people. We can keep in touch with family members across the world now. It's amazing. But every time you access that, you're saying, go ahead and show me all the shit that I don't need to see and don't want to see so that I can get mentally fucked before I go to work today. Like, it's this horrible cycle that does end up affecting us. And it's not in a way that's in front of our face. We don't have people dying in the streets. We're not seeing people mutilated. But even if you don't pay attention to it, the government is still making it affect us in subliminal ways and not so subliminal ways.
Well, I wouldn't say just the government. It's also corporations that have a vested interest in mining your data and keeping you logged into Facebook and Instagram and all these fucking places. And I don't think anybody's really above that unless you're living out in the middle of the woods with no internet access. Can you imagine how blissful that would be to not know what was going on and all of a sudden you just get nuked?
Well,
you wouldn't know.
What was that Duncan Trussell quote? He said, "There's some poor fool sitting next to a waterfall right now without a phone who doesn't know how mad he's supposed to be."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, how sad. It's like,
oh, that poor guy.
But I mean, like, you make a great point, Ben, that like the things actually do affect us. And maybe the reasons what they say, you know, like, oh, it's Russia's fault that inflation is so high. It's like, we know that's bullshit, right? We know Bidenomics is not working, but these things are affecting us, right? These policies and stuff. At least like when Trump was in office, he was honest. He's like, yeah, we're leaving some troops there because that's fucking our oil. You know what I mean? Like, that's why gas prices are $1.87 a gallon.
Yeah, we went there to get oil. We're gonna keep doing that.
Yeah, and that
was our poppy fields too. Have you seen the price of fucking heroin these days? Oh my god, it's outrageous.
Dude, like, I'm trying to get a dime bag out here. It's expensive, man. But that's why you got to upgrade to fentanyl, because it's a bigger bang for your buck.
Jesus.
You know what I'm saying?
So yes, real careful.
These things are affecting us. Like gas prices, even in Texas, they like 2 weeks ago they were almost $4 a gallon, which is unheard of here.
Oh my god!
Sorry.
I'm paying $6.15.
You fucking lives out in Cali with your EVs and your hybrids. You can go, dude. I live in Lubbock. I live in Lubbock, Texas, like West Texas, oil country. I've never seen so many Tesla cars in one place.
It's maddening.
It's so stupid.
That
I'm like,
scares me more than the gas prices. All those Teslas out there about to catch fire one day. Like,
no,
fuck.
You want to know what that scares me about Teslas is the fact that everybody who is claiming they're doing the environment a favor really, really, really has the blinders on. I love how all of this is being pushed, and people I thought were smart are eating it the fuck up. Like, oh yeah, I'm going green. I'm like, do you know the damage that they do? It'll never pay for itself. Just
they're misunderstanding pretty basic concepts of. Don't quote me, but I want to say like 80% of the power is derived from coal, like electricity. So the more electric cars you have on the road, the more coal plants you have to build, because solar, wind, and there's some nuclear too, but I don't know the exact ratio, but it's mostly fucking coal. So, and that's not to mention the mining. I've showed pictures on Instagram before of the lithium mines and the cobalt mines, and that's all slave fucking children labor down there. And they're saving the earth by digging it the fuck up.
It's hard paying union jobs, Joe. That's all you gotta remember. It's hard paying union jobs.
Right.
But here's I've known this since I was like 14 or 15. Like when I was getting hit with the climate change stuff, like I was always told your carbon footprint will be lower by just driving the car that you have.
Yeah.
Like the carbon footprint to make a new car is more than like you'll use in your lifetime. It's like, it's very equivalent. I don't know if that's accurate, but it's a significant amount. So you're better off just driving the car you have and fixing it until you can't drive it anymore than buying a new EV. And especially those EVs, the footprint on those things is fucking huge when you take into the components, the manufacturing, the batteries, the mining, all that stuff. It literally like doubles your output of, if that's what they care about, right? Your carbon footprint. And I think maybe Klaus Schwab is going to hit those Tesla retards back in a few years when they start charging carbon credits. They're going to backlog them for all the, dead African children who mined it and be like, hey, like you, that didn't really offset your carbon, so you owe us some money.
Oh, can you imagine that? Fucking prorated carbon credits on the Tesla drivers.
What?
And I don't have a problem with. Hang on a bit. I don't have a problem with people that are buying a Tesla because it's kind of cool and they're fun
fucking
to drive.
Sweet. They're fucking awesome. Yeah,
and you don't have to pay for gas. I get that.
I took an Uber in one like this summer, and I was like, I couldn't open the door.
Fucking
like, I was trying to get in the Uber, and I was like, lady, how do I get in?
No, I get that idea. Like you buy a Ferrari not because you're trying to be gas efficient because it's a fucking sweet car. That's fine. But if you're trying to say, oh, I'm saving the environment by driving this, go fuck yourself. Seriously.
Dude, and South
What?
Park called all of this like years ago. They had that hybrid episode where the people smell their own farts because they got a hybrid. Like that's been going on for years, man. It's like I drive hybrid now and they fart and they just stick their heads down and I save so much money on gas.
They're capturing methane from the atmosphere, so they really are doing their part. Yeah,
It's recycled. Yeah.
I've been doing that for years. I smell my own farts.
What's the metal that people steal transmissions for that is in them?
The catalytic converters.
And catalytic converters.
I don't
know.
know.
The funny part about catalytic converters, especially here in California, I found this out after I moved to Florida.
Platinum.
California is all about the catalytic converters to lower, so you can get it smogged so that you're not pumping out. Problem is that it 100% stifles the power output of the car.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing about catalytic converters is what it took to make it. So I love this whole circular thinking. We're going to put on catalytic converters so that you lower your carbon footprint, even though the mining process and manufacturing process of said catalytic converter does way more damage to the environment than you would ever do if you never had one installed on your car. So it's like, okay, so it kind of goes along with farting cows. It's like, are you really going to blame the symptom? Or like you said, just let your car fucking run. Chop that motherfucking pipe off. Let it be loud. Let it sound ridiculous. And guess what? You're actually probably going to do the environment a favor by not having a catalytic converter because of the mining process it took to make it. It's like we're always so backwards thinking. The massive batteries in Tesla, the lithium, the amount of damage that it does to get the amount you need for one of those batteries does so much more damage to the environment than you are ever get, not to mention sucking power off the grid now in mass quantities from Teslas and Priuses.
And dude, they're so heavy too, man. Like our infrastructure can't, like if every car was a Tesla or every semi truck was a battery powered, like our bridges and roads would crumble under the weight.
We have an all electric bus now in our bus system.
Our buses are pretty light though. They're mostly empty. There's one at work too, like downtown. There's a couple electric buses. They're real quiet. They have to add noisemakers because people will be on their phones and just walk in front of a bus because they don't hear it.
Oh my God.
That was a problem. No, that was a problem with like the Fisker car that didn't make any noise. And like Teslas, when they first came out, they were silent. And so they had to add like a speaker that makes car noises because people were just walking in front of them because they didn't hear them.
Right. And if you argue common sense to look both ways, the next argument is blind people, which is the only case that I would stand up against. Because it's like, I'm sorry, but if you're on your phone crossing a street, your mom needs to slap you or your mom needs to be slapped because you should be looking both ways before you cross the street. However, if you're blind, I get that one.
What? No, you shouldn't. Why? If you're blind and you're just walking around aimlessly, that's fucking stupid still.
Well, no, that's why they had the chirping sounds for like crossing the street, is so that blind people that are trying to be out and active, they push it and then they wait for the sound to know that they're able to cross the street with their
I don't trust people enough to trust that little chirp because I've seen
I don't either.
Yep.
I work in a not even an urban environment, but enough traffic where I see some shit every day where people just go anyway. And on both sides, pedestrians and cars, they just go anyway.
Yeah, like sometimes you can't do stuff. It's like when you have food allergies, sometimes you shouldn't go out to eat. I know that sucks and that's not fair. Sure. Like life dealt you a shitty hand and that blows. But if you're blind, you probably shouldn't be taking walks by yourself. I'm just saying. I'm not trying to be mean.
So I actually do understand that line of thinking too, because Lene and I had this conversation about the whole nut allergy in schools. And I remember the first time that Lonnie was going to preschool in Florida, they were like, yeah, so any nut things, or that includes other items that aren't nuts, but may or may not have been manufactured in a nut facility, like a processing
which is like
plant,
everything,
pine nuts, peanuts, all of it. Yeah, you can't have any of those. And Lonnie was like, so I can't have peanut butter and jelly at school?
Nope.
And I'm like, nope, a kid favorite can no longer be in school because there might not even like we have one on campus. Like it's bad. Okay, then for lunch, I'm sorry, kiddo, you can either eat by yourself or you can eat with the other kids that didn't bring any nut products, whatever. But just
That's
a
weird.
might.
Because I'm
Oh,
pretty
that's-
sure
bring them to
my
school.
kids. I'm pretty sure my kids' school cafeteria not that long ago had PB&J Uncrustables on the menu.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah, no,
common.
yeah,
but
I've
where do
never
they draw
seen
the
that.
line though? Because isn't Lonnie allergic to fish? So like,
That was me.
why are they just saying, oh, all right, well, why are they, or he was allergic to chicken or whatever,
Right.
or he threw up every time he ate it. So is the school going to ban chicken? Why is it just nuts?
They have to ban
There's so
I don't
many
know.
other
except
things
crickets.
that people are allergic to. Shellfish.
It'll just
I mean,
be
I guess
crickets.
schools
That's
don't really
Joe,
have
yeah.
that, but yeah.
Like, and that's my whole thing is that like, and that was our argument against it, was that it's like, I'm sorry if you, like you said, got dealt a shitty hand on something. Nobody likes fucking cancer either, but we know that people get it. Like, it sucks.
I
If you
love
have a nut
cancer.
allergy, or if you have an allergy, a food allergy, the rest of the 99% should not be punished. It's like that Bill Maher saying, nowadays, if you're afraid of something, a room with a bunch of sharp objects, the point isn't to not go in the room, it's to make the rest of us wear bubble wrap. It's like the idea is to keep one person safe by completely mitigating the freedom of everybody else. And it's
Well, if we're
fucking
talking
wrong.
about children, it's I feel like it's more taking the liability away from the teacher, because that's who's going to get in trouble, the school
100%.
system,
Comes
the
back to
teacher.
money again
So,
because of
yeah.
sued.
So it's saying, okay, well,
100%.
if they're not going to watch my child, because you can't really expect a child to know how to read the back of a label to see
Oh,
if it
for
was
sure.
made
You
in
can't
a
expect
factory
adults
that
to. You
processes
shouldn't.
nuts. Well, yeah, but whatever.
But the
I'm
parents
just talking
should.
about yeah, and the parents should know and explain that to the teacher, and the teacher should be able to watch out for that. But it's like they're taking responsibility away from people left and right. And I'm not saying the teacher should be responsible for watching that child like a hawk 24/7, but there should be something else in place.
Well,
I mean,
I'm sorry, but
teachers
when,
used to be able to spank the kid's ass too,
but
and the
when
parents were like,
everything-
"Yeah,
literally everything was allergic to Ariel. Yeah, I watched her like a hawk because she's 3. She doesn't understand that she can't have foods. And that was the saddest part, was by the time she could start eating foods, she immediately knew she couldn't eat them, and we had to coax her into eating them because she thought that those foods were just bad. And it was like, I had to explain to her as much as I could from, 9 months old until she was allowed to start eating things, like, no, the foods aren't bad. They're just going to make you sick. And I'm so sorry, because it's not a problem with you. It's a fucking problem with you. Like, I don't know
It's
how
hard to
else
tell a
fucking explain that.
3-year-old, sorry, you just suck. Like
Like,
it's just how you
your
were born.
your gut
Hey kid,
sucks,
you're fucked up. Sorry.
and your shit's all retarded.
You
Talk
talk like a fag.
Oh man, I wish I had my board. I got that button somewhere.
What up, retarded faggots?
Oh, hey, easy
Whoa,
there.
now.
Hey. But yeah, I agree. We're seeing that too. Like, I've worked on college campuses for most of my professional career, and like there's safe spaces, but only for certain people, right? Like, it's not
Of
safe
course.
for everybody. It's only safe for some people. And then like it's like here's a room where everybody's allowed except you, white man. You can't come in here. And it's like, and I literally, so at the job I'm at now, they told me like this. One of my coworkers told me this like a couple weeks ago. He was like, yeah, actually they were like, I'm serious, dude. It's bad. But everyone's really, most of the time, pretty cool. Anyway, he was like, yeah, we didn't have a whole lot of candidates, that applied for your job. And I was like, oh yeah, whatever. He's like, but you being straight and white was like, it was hard for us to like justify hiring you.
What?
And
the
I was like,
fuck?
Oh, sorry.
One of your supervisors said this?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're one of those establishments. Got it.
What is your job title? Do you mind telling us? If you don't want to, that's fine too.
I work in at a university as a
Okay.
staff member.
He's just
You
a
know.
dude
So
or a guy.
interesting
Sexist.
that they had to. So that's
Oh, and I
That's
said where I live
bias.
too, so you probably know what school I work at. It's fine. I mean, I don't care. I'm not a huge fan of the plate. Like, just the work is not what I thought it was going to be. So, I kind of packed up my whole life and moved out here for this
Yeah.
job, and it like fucking sucks.
Put everything on this. So
Sounds
Yeah,
like a job.
Like, I
Yeah.
loved my old job. My wife loved her old job. Yeah, well, like I didn't have a whole lot of like upward mobility, but now that I'm here, I realize, oh, I have no upward mobility here either, and the work, like, it sucks. You know what I mean?
And
So,
you're
It seems like
controlled.
most jobs these days.
and
I'm
it
just
turns
curious
out
as to, like-
they
oh, go ahead.
they didn't they only one other person applied, and it was a student. like a graduating student who
A black
applied for my
lesbian
job.
female.
It was another white dude. You know what I mean? And it was like, well, that doesn't make me feel very like wanted. It's like y'all
Right.
needed me. Like you weren't gonna get anybody else.
Yeah, that tells you that they needed somebody so bad they were willing to, in their
Hire
opinion,
the straight white male.
Yeah, hire the straight white guy. Reach down the bottom of the barrel
Yeah.
to them because they want somebody.
And meanwhile,
that promotes
like,
inclusion.
Like we were all working the other day, and I looked around. And I was like, oh, it's only white dudes in here actually getting work done.
Oh,
You know
so
what
they
I mean?
needed more diversity. That's why they were hesitant to hire you.
Well,
It's because they're like, we don't need another one of you.
Either way, I think it's so exclusive to say, it's exclusionary to say, well, you're straight and white. Like, why even bother
100%.
saying that?
It
Because
is
if you were to
exclusionary,
say-
but to them, it's not
Diversity.
being inclusive, right?
Right.
It's like
Stupid.
it's not being included. It's
irrelevant because you were the only person who applied who was qualified. The only other person was a student. It's an irrelevant statement, in my
here's the
opinion.
thing. I've watched, like, we've hired like 3 or 4 different positions, and literally, like, there was this old white guy who came in for the job. He was very experienced. Like, I wasn't on the search committee, but I like talked to him, and he seemed like a decent guy. And then they're like, yeah, we didn't hire him. He was one of those white guys, old white men.
What do you
I
mean
mean?
by those people?
And I was
Right?
like, whoa, like, what are you talking? Like, I don't understand. And so, now it's all the time. Right. And that's another thing too. Like, I'm like, I see the writing on the wall.
Yeah.
Like, in this industry that I'm in, being straight and being white is not great. Even if I do amazing work, even if I'm the best in the business.
Do you know that in 80 years, you're probably going to get reparations for this shit? So just stay alive. And your kiddo, he's going to get reparations just for you being discriminated against for being a straight white guy.
Well, it's not like anyone treats me bad. Well, not necessarily. There's some snide comments.
You
here and
sound
there,
like
right?
a victim. You sound like a black man in the 40s.
You sound like you need a safe space.
them,
nobody treats me bad. I'm fine. I'm just out here working.
They talk about the color of my skin a little, but that's all.
Kyle's in there just like, I'm tired, boss.
Oh
my God.
I
Green
was
Mile.
born one morning where the sun didn't shine. But I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. But
When he told you
like-
that, you should have said, "Oh, no, I totally get that. It's fine. I identify as black."
Dude, so that doesn't work for us. You know this.
know.
If you're a straight white male or straight white female, even, you can't just identify as anything. It's only if you're anything else that you can identify as the opposite of what you are.
I bet
doesn't
he would have
work.
perked up if immediately Kyle went, "Oh, well, then never mind. I identify as female." Oh, then we're so happy to have you.
well, actually, I am a woman now, so
Oh, right.
Kyletta.
Kyletta.
I just haven't like let everybody know. This is kind of like the debut of that information. So maybe I'll get a raise.
It is ma'am.
That is
Well-
sweet. Yeah, that'd be sweet.
So I just heard a story from my coworker earlier today. His girlfriend's son, I think, was at school and was getting bullied or whatever. I can't remember the exact scenario, but what happened? Can you hear me still, or as you walk to your fridge? Okay, that's a very long headphone cord. Wow.
Dude, it's
but
10 feet long.
Your mic cord is not. So he's at school and this kid like starts talking shit or something. So I don't know if he pushes him or whatever, but the kid bites his ass. So he beats the fuck out of him. The principal calls this chick or this dude's mom into the office the next day and is like, yeah, so your kid basically beat the fuck out of this kid. And she's like, well, yeah, he bit him. And he's like, yeah, there's nothing we can do because he identifies as a dog. This is in my hometown. This is Northern California, where everybody's a fucking redneck. And I don't know what school exactly this was. I'm not going to dox them or whatever. But in my general area, that happened. And they're like, well, they can't do it. I'm like, dude, all you have to do is tell them your kid identifies as a dog catcher, give him a taser, and go to fucking town.
A big net.
If we're
He
gonna
needs a
play
big
this
net.
game,
And also, the kid shouldn't get in trouble because he just hit a dog. Big fucking deal. It wasn't
Yeah,
a student.
who
well, no,
cares about-
then it's animal cruelty. There's laws against
Jeez,
that.
this
too.
is like the whole
For a
cat
kid?
litter thing, right? The
Yeah.
cat litter in the classroom thing.
I don't know if
in the
that was a
bathrooms.
real story. I don't
That's
think
the
that was a
thing.
real story.
I don't know if I buy that one, Joe.
It was on the internet. No, the story I'm telling you is straight from a coworker
No,
that
that
does not
his friend
bullshit.
told him that.
Oh,
people.
real? So
Like,
it was
That was
like,
his
no,
kid.
no, it was his girlfriend's kid. This just happened like the other day.
oh shit, really?
Yeah, and I
Oh
buy
my
chickens
God.
from him, so I
Then
believe
I
him.
would fucking kick that dog and make him stay outside all day. You know what I
just
mean?
tell
Like,
just tell
you're-
him
hey,
sit
you're-
every time you see
a
him.
bad dog is, you got to treat a bad dog like a bad dog until they improve, right?
So wait,
no
so
treats.
your friend, so your coworker's girlfriend's kid is the one who beat the shit out of the dog, though, right? Not the dog.
Yes.
All right, so the dog is someone else's kid.
Yeah,
All
the
right.
dog is some other fucktard's kid that is now a fucktard as well. and
Wait,
is
what
gonna
we
be a
need to
fucked
do
up
is
kid.
call the cops or the ATF on, like, you know,
Oh, and have him put the
they'll-
dog down.
They'll shoot the dog. Yeah.
Right.
Well, the dog bit him. Come
It-
on, you got to play the
you gotta
fucking
check it for
game. Don't let
rabies.
these people win.
That when a dog bite happens, I know this with my job. When a dog bite happens, you got to quarantine them, checking for rabies, and sometimes they put them down. So maybe we should just do that.
Your friend's girlfriend should go in and say, a dog bit my kid on
And
campus.
he's got
I'm suing you.
rabies. And he's got rabies now.
And it's
Yeah.
apparently on record
Well,
because
they'd
the
probably have
principal
to
said
prove
that.
they'd probably have to prove that he had rabies. That's beside the point. If a dog came up and bit one of our kids on school property, you can be sure that the school would do something about it. You know they
Right.
would. But instead,
Yeah.
they sent the person home for beating the shit out of the kid because he identifies as a dog. Get out of here.
It's so stupid.
I would look up every
Now,
single.
what would be the best animal to identify as, though? Like, what I mean,
Ooh.
what could you get away with the most, or like maybe have the most fun with, as you know,
something
identifying as an
endangered.
animal?
Something endangered, the spotted owl, or what's another good one?
Hmm.
This
What
is a
else
tough
is
one.
endangered? The dodo bird. I'm the last remaining
They're-
dodo bird.
Oh, you're the last one.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I
thought they were
identify as the
extinct.
last remaining one. No, I identify as the last
You're
remaining
the
dodo
last
bird.
dodo bird. Okay, so we have to put you in like a protective
A
facility.
safe
Feed
space.
me, let me shit myself, whatever, because I'm the last one.
Would that be the most fun for you though? Like,
I
getting
don't
put
know.
up in a
We could try it out
facility?
for a bit and then just tell them I identify as a human again. Like, this is how
Oh,
stupid
that's-
this is getting. Like,
That's true. Yeah.
Where do you think this goes? Because we've talked a lot about this too, and about the identifying and the. Where do
I-
you think this goes? And like, I think
I-
it's gonna reverse pretty soon because this
No,
can't
that's-
go on.
That's what I was gonna say, dude. It's a pendulum, and you hear the left always crying about like, "Oh my God, we're in the Handmaid's Tale because of Donald Trump," and I'm like,
my God.
in 20 years we will be, because the only people having kids right now are immigrants and Christians.
It's
and
gonna
so-
be Handmaid's Tale.
It's
It's
just like
going to be handmade.
idiocracy when they're talking about, oh, well, we're not going to have a kid now, not in this economy. And then
Exactly,
the guy
no.
dies before they can even do IVF or whatever.
Yeah,
No, exactly. She's like, yeah, I might freeze my eggs or whatever. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's that's where the whole climate change problem, like, people don't have kids because it's bad for the climate. Like, I think it swings back the other way pretty like significantly, but that scares me even more. Like, I'd much rather
Yes.
live under like a retard world that we're in now than like authoritarian 1984 New World Order kind of stuff.
So
you know that
OBDM actually just Mike mentioned that exact thing today, where he's like, we're gonna get to such a ridiculous level of clown town where it's gonna have to go the other way, but then you're gonna actually get what they've been calling the right this whole time. You're gonna get this totalitarian, authoritarian fucking regime that is just on top of you, boot on the neck, stomping forever. Like
a police state. Yeah, I mean, that's how
Yeah.
you get a police state.
back to
and-
blue, bro.
Yeah, it's I think it's I would agree with that. It's definitely going to swing back extremely hard. But here's the thing, the pendulum just keeps getting pulled, and then equal and opposite reaction, baby. That's the laws of the universe. It's going to go back, and then they're going to pull it up a little bit more, and then we're just going to have this giant thing, and eventually it'll start going in a circle, and we'll be in some sort of like weird alternate dimension type place. 'Cause
Well, we
it'll
might
just be-
already be.
we might be. I could see that. But Jen, did you tell us what animal you or creature you identify
We have to
as?
go back to this. We have to know.
I don't know. I was thinking my first initial thought was an alligator for some reason. I thought it would be really fun to just be
People
able
fuck
to.
those up in Florida.
I know.
Have you seen those
It's super
videos?
fucked up.
They will fuck an alligator up.
You're gonna wrestle.
But if I had to sit in a classroom as a little kid, I would want to identify as an alligator. I could just eat the teacher and leave.
Just so people leave you the fuck
No big
alone.
deal.
And you could just sit like this under the desk, like just your eyes popping out,
Yeah.
watching you, motherfucker.
So this is a strategy, though. If you go to a theme park and you're of stature like me, and then I can't ride half the rides, I could just say I identify as a giraffe. Let me on the ride. I should tell my
And
kid
they'll
that
be
actually.
cool. You're gonna identify as dead by the end, but have fun.
Yeah, you're gonna fly off this thing anyway, so whatever.
Yeah, man, that's it is getting crazy, but I do think it swings back, and we have literally like a Handmaid's Tale type scenario, if
It'll
not
swing back
worse.
so slow. Like, look at when all of this happened with people identifying as whatever. I mean, when we first started talking about people identifying as male or female when they were born the opposite gender, I've met people who are trans, and I like them. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not my friends necessarily, but they were acquaintances or people I worked with or whatever, and they're not shitty. So it wasn't awful for me to be able to understand and accept their viewpoint. Not that I think that that's healthy or okay, or that everyone should be like that. I don't think it's the norm. I don't think
It's
it's
like you
super
don't-
common,
I
but
don't
I
have to
think it
agree with it.
exists.
Right. It's like I don't have to agree with it, but like as long as you're cool, I'm cool.
But like
You
that's
know?
what you're doing, and what you're doing has nothing to do with me, so that's totally fine. The
Yeah, it's when
problem
it
I have
started
is
coming-
when the media says like everyone's doing this, and we should teach kids all about this because that's how things are. That's not how things are. Most people are born a man or a woman, and they stay that for their whole life, and they procreate.
And they
Some
have a weird
people,
phase in college where they're not quite sure. You know,
Right.
That's called bike curious.
but but it's okay to be gay or trans or straight, whatever you want to be. It's totally fine. But I think most people, it's fair to say, are male or female, and they are born that way and they stay that way, and that's how we procreate and keep life going.
I know for people
For
that
that
are so
reason.
worried about like making sure the human race survives, it seems weird that they're like men can have babies. It's like,
well,
no,
those people don't want us to like they want us dead. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like then
Well-
I think you can boil the whole world, like everybody on Earth. Like it's bad to generalize, but I think you can put everybody on Earth in two categories: the people who want more people and the people who want less people. The pro-human versus anti-human. I think it all can be boiled down to those two categories, right? If we're
Right.
going to play that kind of binary game. And there's different groups among that, but that's how I look at people. If it's like, are you like pro like us? Like, are you on our team? If you're not, then like, why would I want to fuck with you? You know what I mean? Like, if you want me dead or you hate me, why would I shop at your store? Why would I like interact with you? Right. And I think you're going to start seeing like parallel economies. We're already seeing that over the last few years, but I mean, just there's going to be the New World Order and the Great Awakening at the same time. Like it's going to be both things happening simultaneously.
Yeah, it's like a quantum splitting.
I think most people want more people, though. I think even trans people, gay people, straight, but all of us, I think all want more people. I think the elite or they that run the media want us to think that there are people out there who want everyone to die who doesn't take the COVID vaccine. I'm not saying that there weren't people who said that, but I think it's very few and far between. I know lots of vaccinated people who were like, I didn't give two shits if anyone took it or not. I just took it because I was scared, or I just took it for this reason
they
or
weren't
whatever.
the one giving donuts out for it.
But it doesn't matter. That is so beside the point. The people who were angry about people who didn't take the vax was very small. And the media made it sound like it was huge and that you should feel that way.
Well, and it was
They were
mostly the
trying to
media
promote that.
saying it, right?
It was
them
just
saying
the
like,
media.
That's what I
we have
mean.
a
Is
problem
those
with
people
you.
you're talking about weren't the ones being like, you should get a donut for getting it. Like,
Hmm.
no, it was just normal people. Real quick before we get out of here, the trans thing, just come back to it. I just thought about this the other day because I heard an interview with Eddie Izzard, and if you're not familiar with him, then you're probably not as old as me. But he,
what band was he in? Was it a band? Okay, I know the
something.
name.
Isn't he a
was-
comedian?
It was
Oh,
something like that.
He's a stand-up comic from England that used to dress in drag.
That's
that
right.
was his whole shtick.
That's right.
So the funny part is that I think he went on Rogan or something.
He's been on Rogan a couple times, I think.
He was talking about how he's like, no, he's a weird dude. He's like, I just like dressing in women's clothes. I'm a dude. I'm not identifying as a female at all. I just like dressing like a woman and having fun. I'm like, cool. He's not going, no, I am a woman and I should have the same rights as women and you should respect me as a woman and I'm a he, she, or she, her. No, he did
didn't, but-
recently.
Okay.
Because he's a celebrity and he has to go in line with the status quo and be like, oh, this is what we're doing now. He was doing this shit in the 80s and everyone thought it was hilarious. Like
Yeah, 'cause it
in
is
Living
hilarious.
Color, used to have that kind of shit all the time, where they'd have dudes dressing up as chicks, like Jim Carrey or any number of actors, and they would do it, and it was funny for a fucking reason because it wasn't real. And
The other
now
thing
they're
is-
just like,
It's not about the acceptance of the other people. It's about the people doing it saying that you have to. That's my
what I
biggest
mean.
problem. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like, first of all, I don't care what you do. I could give two shits. And to tell you the truth, some of the times it is funny. And it's funny because if you just walked on this earth without having that idea or having those feelings, you wouldn't be doing it. So sometimes it's funny. Eddie Izzard is a freaking gemstone when it came to that because it was fucking hilarious.
his accent made it
However,
better too.
he isn't telling you that you have to observe him. That's the whole fucking problem that I have. You want to dress like a fucking cow for the rest of your life and be a furry? Go for it. But don't tell me that I have to observe you as a cow.
Or
If I
address
don't
you as
want
moo.
to, guess what? I don't have to. If I want to be observed as being tall, but I'm not, I can't make you act like I'm tall because I'm not.
Ben's
Well-
like, look me in the eye, as they look above him.
A lot of people, I think a common theme that's going around is that people are actually asking how you feel about things, where typically we're not asked how we feel about things while
That's
we're
fair.
just walking around. You know, if someone's like clearly looks like a girl or a guy and asks to be addressed as the opposite gender, I think all of us here would be like, okay, and then keep going. But
Be like, yeah, I
there
don't
are
care.
the very few, and I don't think most trans people are like this at all. I've never met a trans person who is confrontational at all. But if someone were, it's because they want to hear how you feel. And that's what the media wants us to think also. But anyway,
Yeah.
if someone's asking you or saying, hey, I want to be addressed as a man, like if I said that to you guys right now, and I looked at you all and was like, how do you feel about that? And you said, well, I think that's fucking stupid. Then you would be the bad guy. And that's the problem, is that we're asking everyone, or people are asking people how they fucking feel about their personal decision. Whereas most of the time, we all don't give a fuck about how other people
They've
feel about
weaponized that
us.
too, though, and gone, if you don't give a fuck, that's also wrong. Silence
Right.
is
But,
violence.
but you know what? I don't give a fuck. So
I know. That's what we covered a couple shows ago. I'm like, people can call me whatever they want anymore. I'm not worried about it. Call me racist, transphobic, homophobic, whatever. Call me whatever. Okay, sure. Yeah, sure. That's what you think of me. That's not
those
me.
things. I don't care
So
what anybody does, as long as they're not hurting me or trying
Right.
to. And if they want to ask my opinion, I'll give it. But if you ask someone their opinion, you have to be open-minded enough to accept
Yep.
that, because you're the one asking.
You're
you're the one-
you're opening yourself up for critique and criticism. So if
Knowingly.
the critique or knowingly, you are asking for it. There's a reason why that's a saying. You're asking for it. Like if you are asking somebody's critique or criticism and it happens to swing the opposite direction of what you were hoping to hear,
and you're like, gotcha.
deal with it.
Yeah.
Because you made a decision. Not everyone's going to like it. Like everybody's on this train of, if I do something, everyone else should or has to like it. No, they fucking don't. And they won't ever. For
And I
all of
won't.
humanity.
No.
Not everyone is going to be on your fucking train.
I don't think most people feel that way, to be fair. I don't think most people are asking people to be on board with how
No, they
they
just
feel.
try to make
I
you
think,
believe it.
I think
Like
it's
the news.
the news, sure. But I think the news is trying to portray that there are a lot of people out there who want people to feel exactly how they feel, and that they're also being confrontational about it. I do not feel like that is the norm at all. I think in general, of course, we all as humans want people to be on our side and agree with us, but we also know, like normal people, that that's a possibility. There's a possibility that that's not going to happen.
There's a
I think
huge
most
possibility.
people are normal, whether they do things that align with your values or not. A lot more people just kind of do their own thing and don't care. And the media wants us to be divided so bad.
No, and you're
Mhm.
never going to please everybody. We found that out doing this show. And I don't care. So, and you shouldn't care either if you're a trans or something. Like, you're not going to please everybody. You should know that from the get-go, and you do. So if you're trying to bring everyone over to your side and it doesn't happen, that's on you,
And if
not
you don't
us.
be trans, be trans though. Like, who cares? It's not
Yeah.
a big deal. It doesn't have any impact on anyone else.
Get a fucking bottle attached to your your shit and be a bottle sexual. Like who fuck, like, you can go as crazy as you want with it.
Be an alligator in school. That's
Yeah.
my recommendation.
Well, we got to get out of here. Kyle, God damn it, Kyle. Where's my cow drops? Hang on. They're in here somewhere. Kyle. Oh, where did they go? What the
Should I
fuck?
wait for it? Like,
Yes, no, wait 1 second. I will find it.
Yes,
Hold
no.
on.
Should we
Yeah,
play
no.
the Jeopardy music?
No. Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, no.
motherfucker. Where'd they go? Oh, here
Oh,
we go.
California.
I don't have any actual Kyle ones.
Hmm.
Well, you should work on that. There's
I
plenty
thought
of
I did.
plenty of material to pull from. But yeah, guys, thanks for having me on. This was fun.
Of course. You got anything to plug?
No. Nothing at all. Just y'all be good to each other. Be peaceful. Pray for peace if you pray. Pray for each other if you pray. And wish me luck on being a dad. That's
I was
kind of
just
my
about
focus
to
right
say,
now.
We probably won't see you again until after you're a father. So early congratulations. Enjoy it. Soak it up. I hope everything is exactly healthy and the way it should be.
We will see you in 5 years.
No, I'll be back in some form, I promise. So appreciate it, guys. It was good catching up with you.
Of course, dude. Thank
Thanks,
you.
dude.
Appreciate it. And 1 piss for you and 1 piss for OBDM.
Hey,
Love
Mike,
both of you.
Gretchen, Joe, I love you guys so much.
We love you all.